Hello, welcome back to L003. Please like, subscribe, and share the content. Today I'm going to talk to you about a session I did for the Artemis 3 mission. And I don't want to, well, first of all, this is way out there in the timeline. This is a couple years out. Somebody gave me this, and I'm not the only one that worked this target, but I will say I'm about to go through some things, um, some synchronicities with some other stuff I've done as it pertains to the moon. And when I talk about some of this stuff, my hope is that other remote viewers will kind of like peek into some, like experienced remote viewers will kind of peek into this stuff. Now, I'm not saying go to the moon necessarily because it's a crapshoot. um, yeah, I mean, remote viewers know what I'm talking about. So, um, but I realized some synchronicities, and I don't know, it's just very curious to me. So, again, I don't know. I could be completely wrong. If remote viewers out there want to completely go into a project and find something completely different, great. Prove me wrong. I'm fine with that. I don't care. Because I don't know. But if anything, it's more data to add to the pile, so I like to include it if I can. So I guess from what I was told, I didn't know anything about this, but I guess the Artemis 2 is going to be a flyby, and Artemis 3 is going to supposed to go like land on the moon, right? So the viewers describe noteworthy data collected or observation during the Artemis 3 mission to the moon. Okay. You got these four astronauts, this picture. I don't know if this is going to be the ones or what, but this is what came with my feedback, right? Okay. So, now I'm going to the session. Now, again, doing this work in precog, this came from a friend that had done some paper, I guess, and or something. But he just basically threw this at me. I had some time, so I figured I'd try and help him out. So interestingly enough, it's a precognitive event way out on the timeline, but for me, like feeling wise, feels like it's just another session. And I could tell that it was very broad. Like you could tell in after a while, you could like get a flavor of the tasking of like, ugh, I feel like I'm getting dragged around. They're trying to pick up a lot here, and I just give them whatever I can. So, but there were some synchronicities things here. I'm getting reckless tragedy. Sorry, airplane, low break continental drift. So right away, I'm getting the sense of like this is weird. Like when it comes to like numerics and stuff, like I get numbers too. I get a sense of four of something. So I guess there's supposed to be four astronauts. Um, Now there is an element of strangeness on the moon, meaning like you could immediately almost tell. Now, the other viewer got some of the stuff that I got, but he also kind of got warned off, which happens a lot. But for whatever reason, I seem to be able to get around pretty good on some of these places lately without being bothered. One thing's for sure, like NASA. Come on. Come on. There's something going on here. So anyway, I get this this like a crashed vessel, right? Stress fracture. Getting these like multiple, like you see these planetary body type things happening. It looks like something's getting launched. Now again, I'm picking up a lot of data, so I'm getting dragged all over the place. So now I'm getting that, I'm hearing all the sounds too, like Mr. Lot, like all that stuff you would audibly hear in a session, right? And like this guy's looking at a giant rocket out a window. Um, but when I kind of hone in on like the operations on the planetary body, like they're heading to, it gets really strange. Um, so yeah, I feel like I'm looking out into space here. So now I'm getting a captain. I'm getting all of this strange stuff. Now, to be honest, I think this is, you know, this, I'm just going to be completely honest. This whole session to me, it was like these guys are going to this spot. First of all, it felt like I entered this target through the mind of the captain of this mission. It was almost like I that was my door. I went through him kind of like reflecting on this mission that's actually going to happen way out in the future, which is so weird. But anyway, so now I'm getting a sense of like all these bodies like in stasis and like maybe, it's like they're trying to get to this artifact or something maybe that has crashed on the planetary, surface, right? And these guys, to me, to be honest, just don't look human. I just don't get that vibe. It's getting kind of weird relatively quick. And if you look at the size of this guy comparatively, something's going on there. Now, this was interesting. AOL break Hitler. And again, I got all these people like in stasis, right? In like pods and um, like a very brave captain. AOL break. AOL break peaceful planet. AOL break logbook. So now again, I'm going. It's almost as if this captain is telling this story of something. It's kind of like this, what it feels like, right? And I'm like, it's almost like I'm seeing this all unfold kind of through his eyes, right? So you get space camp. It's like he's going on this journey. So again, the tasking was kind of broad. So I'm moving all over the place. I can't land on one significant like moment in time. I feel like I'm getting dirty. So I gotta get this captain. Feels like he's in space or something, big space operations. But again, there's this element of weirdness. Okay, say AOL break SpaceX, AOL break like orbiting. So I'm getting this ship or rocket kind of going in orbit, like watching the sun. So again, I'm getting all this. Once I land on the moon here, all this weirdness starts happening. Like, size difference between these individuals seems quite large. Um, so again, it's like, oh boy. And when you're a remote viewer, like you, after a while, you don't want to lean into this shit. And the fact that you're resisting it is kind of a telltale sign that you're onto something. So you just kind of got to go with it. Um, so I broke off. Hello, people sleeping. So here's this captain again. And it's like this captain is reflecting on this picture, like his time on this mission or something. It's like remembering a time in a photo. Slumped over. Hey, well, break intelligence gathering. Now, I started getting this imagery. This started feeling very familiar to me. And because you'll see soon, I'm getting these three triangles. Okay. And when I did a session on um, Stephen Hawking when they took him up to the space station, or whatever. And to be honest with you, to me, it felt more like they were trying to get him to get eyes on something that had crashed there. And what was weird in that session was um, that, sorry about the dogs, um, Stephen Hawking, the three triangles were also there. So, and I'm like, this is just so strange. So, quiet! So, my sense is, why are, first of all, if we do have some kind of advanced technology, okay, that's capable of flying in space and, with relative ease and some new technology, like recovered technology from Roswell or whatever the case. Let's just say, okay, why are we sending people up in these tin cans when we got this this technology, right? So in this session, as well as in my Stephen Hawking session, to me it was as if these three triangles were like escorts, okay, for these rockets, and they're kind of like running interference for something aggressive that's up there, while these guys kind of go down there and get their hands on this stuff. Now, I had something very similar. Um, so I again, I hate to paint narratives. I'm just telling you, kind of showing you what I'm seeing and the direction this is going, right? Um, if you look at Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, when they got back from the moon, they were in shock. I mean, you look at the state of just their, you think they would have been not that way, right? And then you have this talk about them being on another channel, and um, perhaps when they went up there originally, something was up there waiting and basically told them pick up some rocks and get your ass off here. Don't come back. So I don't know. Um, Because all I know is it feels like when the I follow missions that go up there, these like to land and stuff, these vessels are outside of like the very early missions are accompanied by these three triangles. Now I don't think we could see them. I think there's probably some cloaking technology or something going up there. I don't know when they intercept them or whatever. But when they get close to the surface of the moon, I don't think they're alone. And I think part of the reason why maybe just to make sure they get off safe, um, but there's something aggressive up there. Okay. Anyway, there's other things I want to go through. So again, here we go. Get these three triangles like a sub. Like there's something on the planetary body. Now, I also was getting alloys, titanium. I also was getting mercury. A lot of like the you know. Now, from what I've read, they don't there's no um they say that they don't have any traces of mercury, at least in mass quantities up there. Um, Now mercury, I believe, is relatively rare here, parts per million wise. But what if there was a high degree of mercury up there, and they're not telling us for some reason? I mean, I don't know, or maybe they're not telling somebody else. I mean, if it's a valuable metal, I mean, all of a sudden everybody's clamoring to get up there, right? It's strange. So anyway, I got this captain again. I always got something on his shoulder, like a probably to tell me that there's some significance of rank or something. So get this idea of a display, trajectory, evasive. Okay, like evasive when questioned. So I get the sense now. Again, this is a couple years away at least. But another thing to consider too is if this doesn't end up happening, we probably haven't blown ourselves up yet. So that's good news. um, but I got a sense of contracts. Like evasive when questioned. So again, it's like I'm going through this guy's memory. Okay, so I get storage space. So I'm gonna get this triangle. Okay, like an old war hero reflecting on his time. AOL David Rush. Signal. This should be a signal, like a whistleblower. Okay. So perhaps you can only speculate, but these are things I think about. I'm just being honest. Um, this captain of this mission one day comes clean about this or something or talks about it. But here's my sense is that there's aspects of this operation that are not talked about, obviously, at least from my data points. But and that's another thing to consider is if what they're doing up there is still really hush hush, there's still a lot more they're probably not going to be telling us about all this stuff with the disclosure and everything, um, at least as it pertains to the moon. So, God said you have an assortment of records. I kept getting these bodies like in a catatonic state. So he's coming down a ladder here. So again, tactical. It's almost like there's okay. See the triangle. It's like there's three rockets here, and again, um, after a while, really, like every topic is as boring to me as another. So I'm not looking for this stuff. But if I feel like I'm sketching this thing, to me, it's not any more interesting non-human or human. It just doesn't matter to me. I just sketch. My right brain's doing the sketching. So, um, just gonna get these bodies right. Long necks, like these alien looking dudes with long necks, skeletal remains. Okay. So to me, it's almost like trying to get to this monolith or this you know, old technology maybe that had crashed there. But the thing is that site up there, it's almost like a trap. It's like whatever's hunkered down on the moon waits for them to get close to this thing, and then they spring on them. And then these triangles are, doing all this shit. I don't know. That's kind of what it just feels like, right? So specialized maneuvers here. So I'm getting these triangles like flying around, averting stuff, like radiation leaks, containment, like a facilitator. So again, these capsules. Okay, this is see, it's getting weirder. AOL, dimensional warfare, um, intangibles, restricted access, capsules, invasive species, a passenger manifest, logbook, like bodies on ice. Okay. Get a sense of monitoring. Look at this guy. Long neck. Ancient relic. Planetary body and impact site. Like a crew in stasis. So I also had this, and I had lunar lander quite a bit, but I had this thing, to me, it really reminded me a lot of like the helicopter camera thing that they have for Mars, but I felt like it was following around on the moon. Which I don't know how they were doing that, but maybe that's just a lunar lander in the distance. I don't know. But I get this idea of a testimonial associated with this. So I think maybe eventually this guy either tells his story about the craziness of this mission, or who knows. But again, it's strange. This feels strange to me. It feels exploratory. You get this idea of a satellite specialist. And I don't know why this came up. I guess this should be an AOL or an AOL signal. I had a Silesian site. So is this a crash site of something? Is it something that was left there? I don't know. But I got like these bodies there. To me, almost like it was a crash craft from God knows where, and they're trying to pick up some of the technology and some of the the, the biology that was left. Some of these could just be the astronauts sleeping. But I don't think so. I think some of it was a little weirder. AOL Ancient Astronaut. So it's almost like they're trying to get their hands on these bodies again. This body to body planetary action. AOL, like a monolith in space, holding pattern, soldiers, lunar lander like escape pods, lunar eclipse, weapons. Giving the impression of a satellite in orbit, sonar detection, radar emission, tracking. Like tracking progress, makes sense. AOL break docked. So again, I'm feeling this whole journey just in layers. I'm getting the rockets taking off. I'm on a rocky land. I'm getting the whole mission. So I'm getting kind of pulled everywhere, um, like coming up in the ranks. So again, it's like I'm viewing this journey through this captain's eyes, which is very interesting. So I was thinking about going to whiteboard with this, and I'm doing something but I ended up not doing it. But I'm playing around with like before I go to whiteboard, prompting the frame by frame, especially with something super big, and I'm trying to work out what's going on step by step in order. But what's interesting is I do is show me the first whiteboard sketch, like I should do if I go to whiteboard. First thing, I've got the rocket coming up the landing pad, and I'm hearing all the launch, blah blah blah, the audible and vertical ascent, um, escape velocity vector. So like the rocket's taking off. Again, foreign and legion, weapons assembly, foreign affairs, evasive maneuvers, right? I have the feeling of being diverted, like a disengagement, like a dome. Hmm. And then I'm getting all this, like I got this dome structure, these three, and again, here's what's crazy, right? You look at the sketch. So it's as if from the capsule, looking out the window, okay, they're seeing these three triangles like attacking this dome structure, right? You have this guy like in one of these triangles, like tactical advantage, weapons regulation. Now, this is an interesting sketch. I've got this astronaut on what seems like an old structure on the moon. Um, this idea of a mission to observe and report, like being on a foreign planet, like being in a structure off world. But if you look at the size of this thing, a garrison, stage 4.5, observing a spatial anomaly. It's like he's seeing something, some kind of weird anomaly up there. Like an off world burial site. It's a graphic scene, and I get the sense of a testimonial. Primary objective, directionality, like head movement, like maybe he's moving these bodies around. Okay. Okay, so here it's like feeling like going into a structure. He's hitting a pressure release. Like I'm hearing the sound. Psst. All the sounds are coming through here. Pressure release, airlock sounds. Okay. Again, that little helicopter thing. Like reasons to look here, investigation. So again, I don't know what they're going to come up with in this spot, but to me, it feels like there's definitely something there besides like rocks and stuff. They're trying to get their hands on something there. Get the sense of a boarded vessel, titanium alloys. AOL, like the right to survive. Again, Mercury. This tangibles, vestiges, weapons, arsenal. The idea of a cranial examination, contractual obligations. I get the impressions of being in violation of something. That might be me. Some poking around up there. But a purveyor of antiquity, perilous journey. Okay. Structure, personal account, window in space, has several life forms moving about, lying down. I often felt people in these containers either dead or some kind of stasis. I often get this male associated with this target, playing some role, advancing through the ranks. People in masks, orders being followed. I often felt I was in space or orbit of a planetary body. Oftentimes, I felt some of these creatures are not human. I am perceiving. I'm getting both human and non human presences, in particular, one with longer necks. On my second pass of the target, I find myself upon this male in uniform holding a small item with feelings of reflection and remorse. I have three angular structures which appear to be above surface structure, feeling of organization and trajectory here. Someone here seems evasive about being questioned about this topic. An assortment of records here, beeping sounds and life forms in a catatonic state, targets and tactical, a sense of a funeral, a cremation process, and skeletal remains here. I get a capsule or capsules and specialized maneuvers. I have cloud dynamics, explosive gas, and rocky terrain. A feeling of concern here over possible containment. A caretaker here, restricted access. A passenger manifest, a logbook, an ancient relic, and the idea of monitoring. A testimonial from someone, planetary body, and I often had what felt to be like a drone flying around. Something about this seems strange to me. This feels exploratory in some way. I have a satellite and a specialist. I have a Silesian site, carbon fiber soldiers, a lunar eclipse, and a holding pattern. I have weapons here and a satellite in orbit, a sense of tracking and radar emissions. Last pass, I come upon this military man. I have what feels to be a vertical trajectory of a structured vector and escape velocity, feelings of vertigo, a broadcast transmission, and a vertical ascent. Feelings of trespass, weapons assembly here, foreign affairs, and evasive maneuvers. I have a docking station, a sense of a disengagement and being diverted. Several sonic booms, weapon regulation seems significant. I get a tactical advantage. A garrison, a mission to observe and report. I feel someone is witnessing a spatial anomaly here. There is a graphic scene and a testimonial. A primary objective, a sense of directionality, slow movement, propaganda, an airlock, and Mercury. I sense a boarded vessel, titanium alloys, vestiges, a weapons arsenal, examination, and contractual obligations. A sense of being in violation of something, a purveyor of antiquities, and a perilous journey. Okay. So, we looked at that. Let's look at the Stephen Hawking. Now, this one I did September 14th of last year. Okay. And I just pulled this one out of his target pool. It has his target pool, but I got kind of sucked into it. And maybe I got diverted to what was going on in the moon. But what's weird is, to me, I felt like this was really, they went through this effort for him to get his Stephen Hawking's eyes on something on the moon. And as I sketched this upside down, which was like my first big sketch was a rocket. So I've went through this on another video, but I want to show you just a couple. I just want to get to the sketches. And some of this stuff is just Moon Crater is just like unbelievably similar. But again, some sketches you have when you're a movie, they have this quality to it, especially when you're like the CRV because it's like such a kinesthetic approach, where you're like, I don't know anything about this, but this sketch is good, right? And I really had that with flight log monitoring. Yeah, just weird environment. But here's one of the triangles. Um, so right here, again, like a drop zone. Where is it? Got stuff coming out of the planetary body. Ah, here we go. Here we go. My sense was that these three triangles were accompanying this, this mission. Um, Border Patrol, heavy artillery, weapons bombardment. So again, it's almost like, no, this is weird. Okay. So anyway, point being is, I've already gone through this in one. So is again, I am getting, for whatever reason, I am getting the sense that these triangles are kind of like security for these operations. That's what it feels like to me. If I'm wrong, guys, again, go prove me wrong, please. I would love a group of reviewers to go, oh, we did it. We didn't have any of that. It's great. Great. Um, one more thing. Oops, what am I doing? Yeah, okay. Encounter with Tybert. Now, I have not read this, okay, but it just seems awful synchronicitous. The Tiberians, long extinct beings that once visited Earth, have left a record of their civilization on the Moon and Mars. In a cruel twist of fate, veteran astronaut Chris Terrence loses his life trying to recover this treasure. Hmm. Isn't that interesting? To me, and again, I don't care, it's a hell of a synchronicity that I'm getting a sense of these artifacts and stuff on the moon, trying to get these artifacts. And one of the astronauts that had feet on the moon has actually written a science fiction story about such a thing. So, again, I don't like drawing narratives and stuff like that or whatever, but I got to report it like it is, from my perspective, but whatever. But I find it awful interesting. So, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch you next time on Owl003.